Hello, and welcome to Pi Anime Recap. The story begins in the year 4386, in a time that is both peaceful and prosperous. That is, until one day a level 6 giant frog descends on a highly populated city. A magic squad arrives and uses a group attack to land a powerful strike on the creature. Onlookers are confident that not even the Demon King would survive such an attack, but are shocked to see that the frog hasn't been defeated and in fact lands a counterattack. A seemingly unsuspecting boy must be warned to evacuate the area, but he can't be bothered as he is busy with his snack. The kid is saved from being hurt and we're told that the man is named Yi. Yi would become famous for saving the city that day by eliminating the frog all on his own. Several statues would be made in his honor, and it is explained that the students of the present time are not so impressive. This is the first day of the new school year, and we are introduced to a freshman who is our protagonist named Wang. He is the weakest student in the school, and a couple of upperclassmen approach him, offering to protect him since he is at such a low level. In return, they demand payment. Their intentions are clearly to bully him, but the confrontation is broken up by a magic attack from a popular girl named SHENGHUO. Everyone is amazed to see that a freshman was able to produce a golden bean. The senior bullies become enraged and SHENGHUO descends from the rooftop to confront them. The bullies decide to run away, and SHENGHUO vows to always protect the boy, no matter the circumstances. However, everyone is shocked when the boy calmly declines her offer after giving her a bit of money. Later, it is explained that the students will take a mysterious spiritual force test to determine which class they will be in. Everyone is amazed to see that the legendary Yi is the one giving the explanation. He states that the most excellent students will end up in the elite class and wishes them all luck. The first student is sent in to be tested, and everyone is shocked when they see the Demon King from 10 years ago as part of the exam. The students are told to not worry as the real giant frog is actually sealed beneath the school, and what they see is actually just an incarnation of its spiritual force. The test is actually quite simple. Students must summon all their force and hit the frog on the top of its head. As high-level Demon Kings are able to clearly sense the strength of attackers, the student gathers himself and hits the frog with his absolute most powerful attack. However, he is violently launched backwards and his body flies out of the area. The student is deemed to have a low spiritual force of 404 and is labeled as ordinary. SHENGHUO watches closely and determines that the Demon King must still have a force with over 5 digits even if it is sealed. The devastatingly large difference in spiritual force between the student and the Demon King is clearly what forced them to be repelled. Several students would then be labeled as ordinary class, and the instructor explains that this year's students are so weak compared to last year's since they had reached spiritual forces up to 700 and 800. This year's freshman finally catches a break when a student named Chen manages to not be pushed back as violently as the others, and reaches a spiritual force of 938, landing him in the elite class. There would then be a mix of students after, but none reaching higher than Chen's level. We then get to hear what the deep frog is thinking when he explains that he refuses to continue being a punching bag for students. Every single year, he has been able to absorb some power from the students' attacks over the past 10 years and plans to break the seal soon. Rose then called for her turn to be tested and her classmates are confident she will receive a great score. She apologizes to the frog for having to hit him with their tiny fist, and amazes everyone when she is the first to actually push the Demon King back with her attack. Her spiritual force is measured to be an amazing 2019, but she gets a strange feeling when Wang passes her on his way to take his turn. The other students would rather not waste their time watching the weakest student in the entire school, and Wang thinks to himself how a score of 400 should be just enough to land himself in the ordinary class. The Demon King thinks about how he only needs to absorb a bit more power before he can break the seal, but becomes uneasy when he recognizes Wang. A look into the past shows that the Demon King had actually defeated the legendary Yi quite easily. However, before he could execute Yi, the Demon King was surprised to see that a young boy had arrived to sacrifice his own life. That wasn't the case though, as the kid landed a devastating kick on the demon and explained that he simply hates being bothered while eating crispy noodles. It is now clear that Wang had actually been the one to defeat the Demon King as a child, and he now prepares for his attack. Wang decides to limit his strength to its absolute minimum and will try to make it look like he is really trying. He lets out a very half-hearted battle cry as he approaches, and the Demon King realizes that he must do something to prevent being obliterated just as long as about to land his limited attack. A burst of energy prevents anyone from seeing what happened. The Demon King is seemingly defeated and the display shows a ridiculous spiritual force score. The students can't believe that the frog was destroyed by the weakest student. but Wang knows that he didn't even touch the creature. A student named Hago is sure that SHENGHUO must have completely weakened the demon, and Wang simply finished off its last tiny bit of health. Wang can see, though, that the Demon King simply faked his own death and became a spiritual body to escape, and no one else is really certain what happened though, but the instructor decides that Wang will be going to the elite class anyway. Later, we see that the elite class is being instructed by a woman named Miss Pan, and the first lesson will be on summoning. She explains that spiritual bodies are present everywhere, and they must create a passage to summon them. The higher level of spiritual force someone has, the larger the passage they create will be, and it will result in a more powerful spiritual beast being summoned. After learning the basics, Chen is the first to try and begins his overly dramatic incantation. He offers the blood from his veins as a sacrifice to summon a divine dragon, but everyone bursts into laughter when he gets a pink wand instead. Hago doesn't do so well, and neither do the other students. However, everyone is amazed, of course, when SHENGHUO manages to summon a small pet-like spirit. She is very humble about it outwardly, but we see that inside, she is actually quite frustrated about not having enough spiritual force to summon a beast. Professor Pan is disappointed to see that Wang seems to not have understood the lesson and offers to explain it to him once more. Wang decides that he must not show them, but is a bit worried since he can clearly see all the spirits wandering about, and has no way of knowing which one will come through the passage he creates. Wang uses the tiniest bit of his power and startles everyone. With the resulting explosion, some of the dust settles, and SHENGHUO is able to see for a moment that it is actually the Demon King. Miss Pan is quick to act, launching Tumor's spirit pet at Wang's summoned beast, and they combine to form a different beast altogether. The students decide to raise it as a pet, giving it the name Froggy. The second and Miss Pan can't help but be curious about Wang's true strength. A glimpse into the distant past shows the day that Wang was born. His father is startled when an explosion occurs in the operating room, and he begins to fear the worst. A nurse struggles to explain what happened, but would eventually reveal that his son had actually crawled out of his mother on his own. A while later, Wang's parents celebrate the purchase of a great sword that Wang's father claims are an investment into their son's future since he thinks Wang is the chosen one. Wang had to endure lots of nonsense from a young age since he is able to hear people's thoughts. His parents' minds reveal that his father actually always wanted to buy a sword for himself, and his mother secretly purchased a counterfeit instead of a real sword. His parents desperately want Wang to take the sword. He knows that even a real dragon-slaying sword would shatter into pieces from the sheer spiritual force at his fingertips. Wang is certain that his mother's lie would be exposed, and the ensuing fight about their spending habits would eventually lead to a divorce. Wang would like to avoid this outcome and uses his immense intellect to think of every possible outcome in a fraction of a second. He has found the only solution and peace himself. The plan works as his parents change focus to cleaning up. This is the moment when Wang learned his most important lesson in life, and that is to keep his immense powers a secret. He was successfully able to disguise himself as a stupid baby, but would eventually slip up at the age of 6 when he easily defeated the giant frog. His parents witnessed the event, but fear that their son would be experimented on, so they all decide to keep it a secret. His parents would then spend countless hours throughout their lives finding ways to contain one spiritual force. This task has become increasingly difficult as Wang is now a teenager. And we see that even solid steel utensils are destroyed just by being near him. His parents can't understand how this is still happening, even though he carries a force-reducing amulet and takes a force-reducing golden pill. His father promises to have a better amulet made by the end of the year, and Wang leaves in preparation for another one of his parents' fights. The couple argues about how the new amulet still isn't ready, and how much of a stress Wang's powers have been for him throughout his life. His mother simply wishes that he could live an ordinary life, and we see that Wang was listening. His parents' troubles simply reinforce his decision to keep his great secret. This means that he also has avoided extravagant places and social gatherings. However, Wang has always found it difficult to resist his greatest desire for dry noodles. One day, a man would purchase all the items in a shop and offer them to all the students for free as long as they vote for SHENGHUO as class president. They refuse since they don't like the idea of buying votes. However, SHENGHUO arrives and uses her overpowering charm to convince them. Chen isn't fooled though, and pushes back, explaining how important it is to have a fair and just election. Wang though offers to give her 5 votes in exchange for 5 packs of dry noodles. SHENGHUO agrees to the deal and begins to wonder why Wang would go against everyone's opinion just to help her out a bit more. Charm from SHENGHUO, combined with Wang's example, gets all the students to agree to the deal. Chen continues to resist, but SHENGHUO gives him a drink and her guard is surprised to see that she is about to use an ability. It is called the Art of Seduction that she is able to cast over all the freshmen and credits Wang with helping her get the opportunity to use it on them. Soon, Rose searches for him, but he has left and her guard gives her the golden pill that Wang left for her. Wang actually only had 1 vote to give but still took 5 packs of dry noodles, so he left her the pill that he was always forced to take instead. In class, the instructor decides to teach him about a spell called the Art of Seduction. It's a spell passed on several years ago and is used to control people's minds. However, the caster can only use the spell on someone that has accepted a gift from them. After a short incantation, a force field is created. Anyone in the field that has accepted the caster's gift will receive a symbol above their head and fall under the spell. Furthermore, the instructor goes on to say that only men of great power can directly break or remove the spell. Wang now realizes why SHENGHUO gave the gifts at the shop and is glad that he gave her the pill as payment. She sees him staring at her and begins to think that Wang has feelings for her. He sees her staring at him and thinks SHENGHUO is still trying to cast a spell on him, making Wang worry that her guard might not have given the pill to her. Wang begins to gesture to her and she thinks Wang wants her to take the pill. SHENGHUO thinks that his love for her has led him to give her a pill that enhances her power, and that he simply wants to help her become class president. Wang was actually just trying to thank her for the delicious dry noodles and is horrified to see that she consumed the force-reducing pill. Just then, the instructor explains that a lack of spiritual force will end the spell as well, and SHENGHUO collapses as the powerful pill has greatly reduced her strength. The instructor then calls Tunro to the front of the class so she can attempt to demonstrate the spell, but she stumbles in her weak state. Wang heroically saves her and is called to attempt the demonstration. Instead, he says the incantation creates the force field and the instructor is glad to see that someone actually paid attention to his lesson. The election for class president is held soon after, and Tunro learns a valuable lesson. When Chen is announced as the winner, the instructor reveals over the phone that he had, of course, known the students were under the spell and was amazed at how Wang was easily able to break it. He has never seen that before and was also amazed by how quickly Wang mastered the Art of Seduction spell that night. SHENGHUO can't understand why Wang would want to hurt her after doing so much to help her. She hates how she can't get him out of her mind, and we see that the symbol of the seduction spell appears over her head. The next day, the students prepare for a class on pill refinement and compare the furnaces they have brought to use for it. Some are the latest in technology and some are just knockoffs. Chen arrives to reveal that he plans to use a cauldron that has been passed down through his family, and thinks about how he will be able to impress SHENGHUO. She would then arrive completely ignoring Chan and calling out to Wang. Wang realizes that he unintentionally put the seduction spell on her. He now has the wealthy and extremely popular Sunro completely under his control, but just breaks the spell and leaves. Ms. Pan states that the process to create pills is easy, but once the class begins, it proves to actually be quite difficult. The students were barely able to follow along with her instructions, but Hago is confident he will do well since pill refinement is his specialty. He laments how SHENGHUO is a know-it-all and is shocked to see that she has brought her family's industrial refining machine to class. Even more shocking though is how Wang is using a microwave as his heating source. Hago reveals his elegant antique furnace and Froggy points out how it is actually a spirit creature, but Wang tells them to shut up. An explosion reveals that Chen didn't have the required patience to succeed and runs off in disappointment. Their projects are left to set for 7 hours, and we see that the Demon King grows hungry as he hasn't eaten a spiritual pet in a long time. Their projects are left to set for 7 hours, and the Demon King grows hungry as he hasn't eaten a spiritual pet in a long time. He plans to accumulate strength to return to his former self, but Wang anticipated Froggy would try something. Froggy thinks he managed to lose Wang, but pays the price after realizing he was wrong. Chen hasn't stopped running and earlier that morning, he begged his father to let him use the cauldron. His father explains that it has been the treasure of their family for generations and allows him to take it, but warns him not to bring shame to the family. Chen runs off his despair, but exhausts himself and begins to hallucinate. His thoughts become negative when he is ignored by Sunro and doubts having what it takes to be the school president. He is rejected by Sunro again, and that proves to be the final straw, as he is consumed by a mind devil nearby. Wang is caught leaving the restroom with Hago's furnace and explains that Frogo had put it in his mouth, so he was just cleaning it. Hago doesn't believe the story, and the little furnace doesn't do much to back Wang's story. He fires off an attack that is easily dodged by Wang and ends up hitting the possessed Chin. Wang prepares to cleanse him of the weak possession but is interrupted when Hugo says that no one can find out about what they have done. He explains that the liquid he made was only meant to be applied externally and only caused a few patches of small rashes. Hago states that Chen has consumed it though, and his life will likely soon come to an end. Wang knows that it actually isn't that serious at all, but casually accepts Hago's offer to forget about him taking the cauldron in exchange for helping Hago make an antidote. After a bit of work, all that is left to do is wait for hours until the antidote is ready. But Hago realizes everyone will be returning soon. Froggy tries to sneak up and eat the cauldron but is stopped. Hago realizes that the process has progressed faster than normal and they force Froggy to use his ability again. The heating process is sped up again and Froggy explains that his spiritual force is the ability to speed up and reverse timelines. Froggy thinks that this has earned them their respect, but it's surprising to see that they actually plan to use his ability for their own purposes. Hago also decides to use Froggy as the test subject for the antidote and deems it a success. Chen takes the antidote but they have run out of time, since it will take till the end of the day for it to work and everyone has already returned. Wang calms Hago down and he decides to trust Wang to solve the problem. Hugo's attempt at stalling everyone is pathetic, but luckily Wang seems to have moved Chen's body. Ms. Pen begins to check the students' projects and Hago prepares for the worst since his cauldron is empty. He is shocked though when Ms. Pen pulls out a perfect gold pill and Hago realizes that his true friend Wang must have put his own pill in there. He then becomes worried since that means Wang's microwave will be empty but is surprised when Ms. Pen actually pulls something out. Hago figures out that Wang must have taken out Chen's burnt pill to replace his own pill that Wang would then put in Hago's cauldron. Hago is stunned to see all the trouble Wang went through for him, but it is revealed to us that all his assumptions are completely incorrect. The pill from Hago's cauldron was actually never removed and just managed to be completed normally throughout the day. As for Wang's project, the microwave just failed to make a pill. Chen later wakes up and Hago explains that they managed to repair his cauldron, which he expresses great appreciation for. This concludes the first episode. Overall the story has been great so far. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.